What's going on, you guys? Economic Prepper here. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. Want to cover some things that I haven't covered too much recently, but I think it needs a little bit of coverage, a little bit more exposure. And we keep seeing these patterns, and patterns evolve not through pure coincidence, in my opinion. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, if you have any substantiating evidence or proof or recollection that these patterns are literally just random. But there are greater powers at play, and I think if you just call these systemic problems that we encounter pure coincidence, then maybe you don't realize what's going on. And of course there are coincidences. It's not like there's a zero probability that coincidences can actually happen, but the timing is where it gets really interesting. Yeah. Now, one of the things that we typically see is around election time. Things get really interesting around election time. This is when the powers exchange positions, and I almost feel like no matter who's in office, the ultimate plans will be carried out as expected. But the illusion is that the people have the choice to put a different person in place to bring about change. And we're convinced almost every time. Well, I say we, the collective population. I'm not convinced. I think it's a bunch of bull. But they're convinced that something different's going to happen. And the truth is, if you look at just about each and every single administration, every administration promised some form of change. Oh, you're gonna increase your income. We're gonna lower your taxes. We're gonna offer these sorts of health benefits. We're gonna offer, unemployment rates are gonna decrease. You're gonna be able to take more money home for your families. Life is always going to be so much better. And no matter what the crisis is, whether it's manufactured or not, the future is always promised to be better. I don't know how many of you guys remember the 2020 election. Leading up to that election, that was one of the most ferocious spring and summers that I've ever experienced. It was scary. It was scary. There were times I didn't even want to take my family out to an evening dinner outside the house. It wasn't safe. It didn't feel safe. I don't know. I know a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. And I was prepping. I was prepping like you wouldn't believe, like a madman. And I know you guys were too. And the push, you couldn't turn the TV off. I mean, you couldn't turn the TV on and not see this agenda being pushed at you. And it's like, wow, this is just crazy. I stopped watching TV altogether. It was pointless. It was pointless. And every time, it's amazing how once an election passes, how so much of that extra push dies down in the media. There were, I want to say that there were 5 people in Coney Island just recently that were shot. And New York is one of these states. Well, point is they were shot. Now there's a big push to take your rights away, take the rights away from law-abiding citizens to arm themselves. Now, here's the thing, I want to see some real facts. I want to see some real statistics that actually show how many of these shootings, whether it's a mass shooting or basically I want to see how many unjustified shootings where it's not a self-defense shooting, right? Which rarely ever get brought up, mind you, which actually happen quite frequently, and you have to wonder, why is that never brought up, right? Because it almost, when you look at the media and whenever you hear about a shooting, it's always an unjustified shooting, as if justified shootings never happen. But those somehow never make it to the news. Interesting how that happens. And the point behind what I'm saying here is, if you look at the statistics, it would make sense if there was some clear, undeniable statistical evidence that would show that 50% or more of these unjustified shootings were carried out by law-abiding citizens, those who obtain proper permits and whatnot. But it almost seems as though they're just attempting to, through whatever means that they can come up with, convince the population that putting more laws in place to remove firearms from law-abiding citizens, or from just all people in general, right? Take away, put laws in place that take a little bit of your rights away from here, a little bit of rights away from, to a point where eventually it's completely illegal to even own a gun. So I think that's where this is going. If you take away, if they just came out and said, hey, we want to confiscate all guns from all people, that would never fly. But if you say, okay, let's sneak a little bit of restriction in here and there, right? If we just say 100%, we want to scorch the earth, take all the guns out of the hands of U.S. citizens, that won't fly with almost anyone. But if you can introduce a new law here and there, a little bit more legislation that encroaches on your rights as a U.S. citizen, eventually it will be completely illegal to even to own a firearm whatsoever or be in possession of one. Now, the question is, why would you want to disarm all citizens? What's the bigger plan? What's the bigger play? You got to question that. And the timings of these unjustified shootings, whether they're mass or not, it's rather ironic, right? It's rather ironic. And it just seems that the frequencies of them tend to tick up in advance of elections. And I know I'm not the only one who's seeing this. And, but again, this is part of preparation, Part of preparation is making investments now while you can. You don't want to wait until there's some, you don't want to wait until the crisis hits and then you're looking to get supplies. You got to invest now. Do what is easy do what is hard when it is easy. And, one of those things is, and sometimes I have to remind myself to do this, do what is hard when it is easy. You can buy certain things that you can buy protection now that you may not be able to buy later, whether it be due to supply chain issues, availability, future laws. A lot of times, laws change, but depending upon the circumstances, you're grandfathered in if you did XYZ beforehand. So, this may be one of these that, and I don't think that, I think most of you guys understand the magnitude of this. I think most of you guys understand the direction that we're headed. I mean, you know, just look at the employment rate, right? You know, look at interest rates, look at the Fed, look at inflation. We see the writing on the wall. Businesses, they see the writing on the wall. Layoffs are happening, not in mass numbers to a point where I would panic. In fact, I don't think I would ever recommend that you panic. You know, that's just not useful. It's not helpful. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. Clouds your brain, clouds your mind from making logical decisions. But businesses see what's coming. We need to see what's coming. And, you know, billion-dollar corporations, they see what's coming, and they're a part of what's coming, mind you. So, but, and just like these businesses and corporations, they see what's coming, they take action, and they do what is hard when it is easy. They let people go in advance now. It used to be that, you know, these corporations would allow themselves or find themselves in within a problem. Declining sales, reduced revenues, declining profit margins, increased expenses and overhead. Then they release earnings. Shareholders, you know, stock market shareholders, they get pissed off. They want to sell out of the stock, which causes the stock price to crash or plummet or, you know, pull back. Depends on the extent of the details and the forecast of the future projections of the business. That generally determines how much the stock price is going to plummet. Well, guess what? Most of these business owners, these CEOs, these C-suite individuals within these organizations, big part of their compensation package comes from stock options and you know, stocks themselves. So and depending upon how high up in the organization you are, 80% of your compensation might come from stocks in the form of stocks or some derivative of stocks, whether it's, you know, stocks themselves or stock options, which, mind you, is how a lot of these super high earning individuals can avoid or significantly delay taxes. You know, if you're issued stock options, these stock options have a future value, which in many cases, this is not tax advice, this is not financial advice, many cases you can not even have to pay taxes on those stock options. Stock options today might be issued to a CEO or to a CFO or, you know, to any number of individuals within an organization, and it may not be deemed as income. And so you may get $20 million of options and not have to pay any tax. And point is these companies will start these layoffs in advance to protect or mitigate risk. Why? Well, they want to protect the business. It's all about the sustainability of the business. And they also want to make sure that their stock price doesn't get impacted any more than it needs to. Why? Well, I think it's obvious. If 80% of your compensation is coming from stocks, you want to protect that stock price as much as you can. So if you can forecast that business will slow down, if you can forecast a recession is coming, if you can forecast that demand for a product or service that your business offers is going to decline, you want to cut back on your expenses ahead of time. And what they're doing is they're chopping heads, they're laying people off, which is going to ultimately show up in the employment numbers, or I should say unemployment numbers. And so the point is they're doing what's hard when it is easy. They're forecasting, they're prepping, they're preparing for what is coming. And we need to always be doing the same. Like I said, if you have one source of income, you're very vulnerable. There are certain industries that you can work in that have a lower likelihood of being at risk of future layoffs and the like. your income source may not be as at risk as others, depending upon the industry that you're in. But the risk will always be there. If you have one job, even if you're a doctor, even if you're you work in the defense contract industry, where, pretty much you're always going to have a need to manufacture weapons and fighter jets and, defense machinery. You're at risk still. People lose their jobs in all industries. Now, some industries and some positions are just less likely to be at risk than others, but we have to be aware. And so that is why we should always, when you're prepping, you don't have like one pack of batteries. When you're preparing, when you're prepping, you don't have, one pack of water. When you're prepping, you don't have one water filter. Like that's not prepping. Prepping is creating backups and creating backup systems for future unexpected events. And what are these unexpected events? Well, we don't know. When SHTF happens, we don't know what version or magnitude of SHTF we're going to encounter. Could be anything. Could be a natural disaster. Could be a economic crisis. So there's economic preparation, multiple sources of income, creating multiple sources of income, diversifying your diversifying your asset classes, diversifying your investment types, diversifying your currencies, so I guess what I'm just saying is we have to be prepared from all fronts. And these corporations, they're preparing. So, one of the ways I would prepare is, like I said, do what is hard when it is easy. If you're in one of these more at-risk sectors or segments of the economy, take this opportunity while you are employed to brush up that resume. Pick up some new skills while you're at the job that you're at right now that could possibly make you more valuable to the company that you work for, or potentially even more valuable to a future company should you need to swap your current employment for a new employer. So, this is all preparation. This is all proper preparation, and it boils down to awareness. It boils down to educating yourself and recognizing some of these patterns and trends so that you can respond in advance rather than reacting after the fact. So, it's always good to have a spare tire in the car before you have a flat. So anyway, hope you guys got some value out of the video. Drop me some comments. If you made it this far in this video, drop a like for the video. Also consider subscribing. Check out my other videos. Lots of changes coming, you guys. But those who are prepared, we're going to survive. And best case scenario, none of this happens, and you're just far better off, and you're so far advanced ahead of everyone else who didn't prepare. If none of this ever happens, right? But if it does, you and your family are safe. So that's the whole goal. Anyway, you guys offer so much value to me. Please continue to drop comments down below. My email is in the description down below this video as well. If you want to send a message to me directly, if you want to inform me of anything, you guys share so much valuable content and information with me. I just want to thank you guys so much for that. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care, preppers.